Hey everybody, happy 4th of July. So no rest for the weary. Up on the portable bench we have a trash-picked Ryobi 3100 PSI pressure washer, 2.5 gallons a minute with a Honda GCV 190 engine. So model number here is RY88949B, I think. Trying to find it. Yeah, it looks like it's made in January of 2018, so not that old. This is a typical residential grade model. Typically all vertical shaft pressure washers are residential grade. So don't know anything about it, don't have any story on it. Obviously I don't see a hose or a wand or nozzles included, so this is just the actual pressure washer. Yeah, so what you see is what you get. So I guess right off the bat, before we get into anything, let's do a quick visual and see if we see anything obvious. So I guess the first thing we can look at is there is fuel in there. Doesn't smell horrible, that's a good sign. Let's see, oh, all right, so it looks like we might be missing some pieces in the pump. So down there, where the garden hose hooks up here, this seems to be fine, although a little bit chewed up. This, on the other hand, there should be a male fitting here that a 22mm hose screws onto, and I don't see that fitting. So I don't know if it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's not there. The pump, let's see if we get a read on the pump. The pump looks like it's a PWR, I don't know, I can't read that. I'm getting too old, I'll have to get a magnifying glass. Maybe you guys will have more luck reading that than I will. It looks like a PWR something, I don't know. So yeah, so we're missing something here for sure. Let's take a gander at the motor besides the gas. Let's do a quick oil check. So there is a little bit of oil in there. Looks pretty nasty. But at least there is oil in there. Muffler does look a bit rusty, but I guess it's not unusual in a pressure washer, right? Okay, let's see if the motor is locked up. Just give it a little. It is not. It seems to have good compression. Check the air cleaner. It is present, but looks like it's fuel stained. Or maybe just got wet. It does look like is that an aftermarket filter? I thought the Honda ones were like a greenish color, but what do I know? All right, so this thing should be safe to try to start it. Just trying to figure out what I want to do with that pump. Did a bit more research on that pump. It's actually a Highmore brand. It's a PWV parentheses R 28 2.5. So there are some parts available for it. This tube looks like it's about 10 bucks. But before I put any money into this, I have another pressure washer with not a Highmore pump, but I think it's probably not that same inlet tube. I think I'd like to swap that over temporarily just to make sure that this unit is going to run, because if it needs a pump or if it needs a lot of pump parts, it's probably not worth putting any money into this one, right? So I don't need to buy an extension tube for this one if the pump is trash, because a new pump would come with one of those extension tubes. So let me take this tube out of my pressure washer, swap it over, and then I think we'll hook up a garden hose and give it a test. Change of plans. So I tried to remove this tube from my pressure washer and it seems to have welded itself to the pump. So rather than break a pump that I know works, let's hook up a garden hose and see if this thing even pumps. So we'll hook up the garden hose to here. We'll turn on the water, we'll let it spray out here. If the pump is working, water should spray out of here more forcefully. Scratch that idea too. I had an epiphany. So this one came from the factory with a 22mm pressure washer fitting, which is not uncommon for these things. So they typically come with something like this, right? So that screws onto there, that missing piece. I don't necessarily need to keep that style. I could just convert over to a quick connect, which I have for my other pressure washer. Okay, I will sadly have to venture into my backyard to get a hose for this because my other pressure washer has the 22mm fittings. So it's going to be a long trek into the backyard. So I'm just using some of this OD Great White thread sealant. You could pick these fittings up from your local like Northern Tools. I think even Home Depot sells these fittings. Pays to be a pack rat sometimes, right? Should be good enough for a test. All right. My better judgment said to swap out the stainless steel fastener, which is expensive, with this used brass one, so this thing is trash picked. So we're going to hook up the pressure washer hose for my heavier duty pressure washer, which has this quick connect. Snap it in place. And we'll hook up our garden hose. I have a quick connect screwed in here temporarily. And there we go. Let's see if it leaks. I'm going to turn the water on. Don't see any leaks. That's a good sign. Sometimes those heads crack and they leak. I'm running water through it right now. Seems okay. I guess now it's time to give the rope a tug and see what happens. All right, let's see what happens. Got the choke on, ignition on, fuel on. Remember, we have gas, we have oil, so we should be good to give it a test. Oh, it's trying to fire. We have some carburation issues. I also see a tiny leak down by where that fitting is screwed in. I don't know if the pump is cracked there or if it's just a leak in the sealant. So I think next we're going to tear into the carb and clean that up. This way the engine will run a little bit better. Didn't seem to want to accelerate off choke though. Okay, I just threw a bit more sealant on this fitting here. If that does not resolve the leak, then this pump housing is probably cracked. It means the pump is probably junk. These Honda motors are kind of annoying to work on, but they don't require a lot of tools or specialized knowledge to work on them. You can get the whole carburetor off with just a 10mm socket. A couple different revisions out there. This one looks like it just has 2 bolts that hold the air box on. Sometimes there's a third up here. Notice that these, actually no, it looks like these are part of the bolt. These little shoulders here. Sometimes those are metal inserts in the airbox. Well, just lost one of our gaskets. There should be a breather tube behind here that's holding this box on. Right here. And here's our carb. So take note of your linkages. So you have your choke linkage right here. And in this machine, the lever is in the outer hole here. There's also an inner hole here. If you hook it up wrong, it'll be backwards. So just take note of where everything goes. And the throttle's in the back here. And that is, there's only one hole in that one. And this machine looks like it has a governor, or it has a cable hooked up to the governor to adjust the engine speed. So when the engine is not driving, when you're not pressure washing, if it's in bypass mode, you're just kind of sitting there not squeezing the trigger, the engine idles down, which is kind of what we saw before. So let's gently remove our carburetor, try not to break that gasket in the back. Let that just fall off. Let's remove our fuel line. Make sure your fuel is shut off. This is not going to have a bad time if you don't do that. Fuel line clamps can be annoying sometimes. Ow. There we go. Now our fuel line should come off. Probably leak a little bit of gas. Now we're going to rotate the carb this way and remove our linkages, just like so. Made a little bit of room on the bench here. This carburetor does not have a drain, some of them do. Just going to crack this nut loose. See what goodies are in the bowl. Yeah, not so hot. Seen a lot worse though. All right, let's finish disassembling this carb. Got my little bin here for small parts. I'll take out this screw here. Yeah, it's kind of a little trashy in there. Guys probably can't see that. Let's take out our float, our needle, and we'll take out the main jet, which is buried in there. Use a flat blade screwdriver and simply unscrew. There we go, that's our emulsion tube right there. So the carburetor is now fully disassembled, and we'll stick this in the ultrasonic cleaner. Only a few minutes in, and you can see the water is already noticeably darker. And a lot of the large deposits in this fuel ball are gone already. Okay, about 40 minutes later. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but that lemon simple green just doesn't seem to work as well. This took probably twice as long as it normally would have to clean up. And you see the water obviously got nasty, so something worked, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's as effective as the actual genuine green, simple green. But the hardware store didn't have it, so gotta use what I can get, right? All right, so let me take these parts out, blow them off, and we'll reassemble the carb. I think it's also worth calling out that a brand new carburetor for this machine is like 20 bucks. So if you don't have all these tools or you don't have the desire to do this, just buy a new one. So this gets reassembled with the longer portion facing the top of the carburetor, like so. Put our main jet in. Some carburetors, these things are tapered. There we go. There we go. Carburetor is fully reassembled. How did this come off? I'm trying to remember. You guys remember? Judging by the indentations in the gasket, it looks like it came off this way. So we will reinstall it the same way. looks like this gasket came off like that. Again, judging by the indentations. Thread our screws in. This part can be a little tricky. You need to line up a bunch of different things at the same time. Don't forget to reattach the breather hose. I'm just going to get these started so the carb doesn't fall off. I'll reattach the breather hose from over here. There, I think we got it. Everything's still looking good, you guys? Yeah, I think we're good. Always good to make sure your linkages move freely, and they do. Our choke is on. Notice the plate closes, or you'll not be able to see it, but the plate is closed. Now it's open. Again, you don't want to get that reversed. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Let's reinstall our air filter. And we'll get ready to give this thing another try. Hopefully with better results. Cool. Before we give it a test, let's check for fuel leaks. Turn the gas back on and we'll look for any drippies. Give it a minute. I think we're good. If we had any issues, we see fuel coming out here, or it'd be on the bottom of the bowl and it's dry. So we're good. All right, take two. Let it warm up a minute. Give it some gas. Nope, not yet. Seems to work just fine. Pretty cool. I don't see any water leaks either. It's all dry. Runs pretty well. Nice. So next, let's just be nice and give it an oil change. It's probably the first one it's ever had. Just gonna suck the oil out with this Mighty Vac rather than making a mess. I think we're past the point of diminishing returns. very little left in there. Throw a little bit of 10W30 in there. Glug, 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 glug. Looks perfect to me. All right, I think that's about all the gold we're going to squeeze out of this thing. So yeah, just really needed a carb cleaning, a couple of minor adjustments, and an oil change, and it's good to go. We had to replace that part on the pump, that outlet, the pump outlet, but I think what I put on there is an upgrade from what I had in from the factory. So I think this video is a wrap. Anyway, happy 4th of July. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody, and be careful with those fireworks.